All right, it's going to be a wet one, like most likely in Oklahoma today, as this airs at midnight of game day. Let's talk to the mayor of Corinth and get caught up on everything that's going on with him.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media and a former Ole Miss staff member. Listen, we're going to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about Lane to Florida rumors and all of that noise. We're going to talk about a little bit of basketball. All of that's going to happen with the mayor of Corinth joining this show. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every single detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned for later, the highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, so Tom, one thing that's interesting to me, looks like some wet weather is scheduled for Norman, Oklahoma. Looks like it's going to be a little bit of a rain game, or at least it'll rain at different parts during it. It's going to start probably raining in the next 2 or 3 hours in Norman, Oklahoma, and it's not going to stop until right around the Ole Miss Oklahoma game. I think this is advantage Ole Miss because offense has the advantage over the defense in wet, soggy conditions, and it can't be easy to hold a wet football when you're trying to throw it, as if they're worried about you controlling a dry football when you're trying to throw it. So I think both of those factors is advantage Ole Miss and Norman.
I agree. That also combined with, everybody looks at these injury reports now. They're really depleted on their offensive line, Oklahoma. And I think that may come into play as well, since it'll be more of a running type game for a while.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what it looks like. It looks like, according to the injury report, they could be down as many as their top 2 right tackles, which means somebody that's playing left guard or something like that is going to slide over. You're not going to have a third stringer playing on the offensive line. But you're right. If you look at the injury report, there's 5 offensive linemen on it. There's a receiver on it. I mean, there's several questionables. Simmons, who I think is their top right tackle, is going to play. I think he has a concussion. He's in concussion protocol at the moment. There's a lot of stuff lining up for Ole Miss to go up there and pull off the win against the Oklahoma Sooners. I guess that's my point.
No, I agree. I think we need to shake off the dust of last week. We don't need to let Georgia beat us twice. There's no doubt in my mind we are the better overall football team. If you look at Oklahoma's defense this year, it's been good, but they haven't played anybody anywhere near the offensive output of the Ole Miss.
The best offense they've played is Texas. Seriously.
Right. And, Texas, they've got a lot of talent, but, Arch hadn't been able to flip that switch just yet.
I don't know if – I'm going to be honest about this. I don't know if Arch has a switch. I think it might be a what you see is what you get type thing.
Well, I will say this. When we decided to go with Austin Simmons, I was a little irritated at first, but now I know. Trust the coach.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't know. It's just weird. But you know what? Talking about the Arch stuff, I mean, this is going to sound like I'm taking a little bit of a victory lap, but I'm not. He didn't go to a single All-Star game. He didn't go to Elite 11. He didn't go to combines, all of this stuff when he was a 5-star recruit, top of the class. Nobody was watching him. And every time they played a good opponent, And high school football, he threw for like 110 yards and 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
I mean, this shouldn't surprise anyone.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Anybody that goes back and looks at his high school, his highlights from high school, he looked really good when he was, throwing against 5'8", 140-pound cornerbacks,
Yeah. And he's an athletic dude. He can run the ball pretty well, but it just kind of is what it is. But the point is that Arch Manning that we're having this conversation about kind of easily beat this Oklahoma team in the Red River rivalry.
Exactly. And I hope I don't jinx this here, but I think that Trinidad Chambliss, who even had a good game last week, even though we got beat, he did everything perfect. But I think he's going to bounce back and have a heck of a game.
Yeah, I think he will as well. And this football game just kind of stands out to me as a front-runner game. This is not a comeback game. If Ole Miss gets off to a good start, it's one of those if you're even, you're leaving type thing. And if Ole Miss falls behind, I do not know if Ole Miss can come back against this Oklahoma team. It'll be really interesting. It's going to be a close game either way, in my opinion. But I do think genuinely that Ole Miss has the better team. And if all of this Florida noise that we're going to talk about in the second segment, if that can be put on the back burner for a week, if everybody remembers 2022, because everybody's talking about 2022, so I assume that everybody is remembering 2022. The Auburn stuff happened before the Alabama game. And Ole Miss came out against Alabama and had the ball in the air to win that game against Alabama. And they weren't able to do it, but everybody just assumes that the Auburn stuff got ramped up for the Arkansas game and Ole Miss got taken apart, and Mississippi State and all of that. No, the Auburn stuff started before the Alabama game, and Ole Miss played pretty well. So my point of all of this is if Ole Miss can pick up a win versus Oklahoma, first of all, I don't think any of this is going to happen because they're going to keep winning ball games. And second of all, at that point, we're talking home playoff game in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. Mm-hmm. At that point, we're talking about all the marbles. Everything is in front of you. And everybody says, like my friend, Brandon Olson, the Locked On Gators guy, he's like, just matter of fact, Ole Miss will never win a national championship. Okay. But here's my point on that one. Ole Miss has just as good of an opportunity as Florida to. And they're probably in a better position to do it right now than Florida is. We'll talk about that in just a second. I do want to tell you, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Florida noise. We're going to talk about basketball in the third segment, so stick around for that. I do want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Trinidad Chambliss leading 5 consecutive touchdown drives in 5 possessions against the Georgia Bulldogs. Almost led that game in the fourth quarter. They kind of collapsed a little bit at the end, but they were in it. And winning the game in Athens, Georgia, that's never going to be an easy thing to do for anybody not named Alabama. But Trinidad had them constantly in position to do just that by being a problem and keeping Georgia's defense occupied. Now, against Oklahoma, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it keeps all this free. Locked On is getting ready to change the game yet again. all in the name of having fun following your team, which is what we do. It's coming in December. Just wait. We'll keep you posted. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. So, all right, Tom, it's time to talk a little bit Lane and Florida noise. And it's just it's getting insanely loud. Nothing's being said. No decisions are being made. But there's going to be 6 weeks of this.
Yeah.
Of all of this noise. It's going to be exhausted, because if the reality is everybody yelling, hey, we're awesome, we're amazing, we're going to win the super duper bowl at Florida if you come down here, and they keep saying it over and over again. Hey, first of all, the dumber of the dumbest are going to start to believe it just because it's being said repeatedly. But it's just not true. They talk about all the intrinsic benefits that Florida has. And listen, if you talk about the brand is strong as far as putting the Florida Gators on TV and being from a populated state. But that doesn't mean they're a good program. Just because your brand is strong doesn't mean your football team is strong and can be strong. You remember the 25 years that the Tennessee Volunteers went through? You remember what Auburn's going through right now? You've hired 4 consecutive coaches. 4 coaches. With all of these resources, you're going to commit to the program. You said it at every hiring that happened. What happened to those coaches? Well, in 3 years, they got fired.
Exactly.
And that is an important thing to remember going into the search, because the bros, the Jersey Shore guys that are on Twitter is like, yeah, bro, we're a dominant program. All of that, it doesn't mean anything. It's not real. It's hot air. It's fake news. Now, whether or not Lane goes to Florida or not, that's ultimately up to Lane. But it's not going to Florida because of anything that Ole Miss did. Ole Miss is preparing to make him potentially at least one of the top 3 highest paid coaches in college football, and maybe the top paid coach in college football. Ole Miss is doing nothing wrong. That's the reason all of this stuff, whenever you start doing stuff in your head, he would be stupid to leave. You have this program at a place where they want to be, and I get it. They love their school. Everybody's supposed to love their school. Mm-hmm. But he's already there here. He's a perennial top 10 team. He's the 3rd most winningest team in the Southeastern Conference. And they are getting to the point to where they are just about to turn that last corner. Or you go and completely start over with Florida at a place where they're not going to let you do what Ole Miss lets you do. Odds are you're not going to be paid as well as you would be paid here. The assistants are not going to be paid as well as the assistants here. And like I said, I'm not making snap judgments. I'm just going off what happened with Billy Napier and this staff. Mm-hmm. What, there's a 5-star player in Lakeland, Florida, or something like that. The recruiting base for high school recruiting, Lane doesn't use high school recruiting, Tom. This whole thing makes no sense other than the fact that bros are just blowing hot air. Again, Lane could decide to go. Lane's going to do what Lane wants to do. But if he does, he's stupid.
I agree. I think if he hasn't already reached out to Dan Mullen, he should. Mm-hmm. Dan did wonderful things at Mississippi State. If he would have stayed there, they would have built a statue to him outside of the stadium. But, the grass was greener. He just had one semi-bad year, and then out he goes. Mm-hmm. And Lane's in the same spot at Ole Miss as Mullen was at Mississippi State. If he had one year where he lost 3 or 4 ball games, it wouldn't be the end of the world at Ole Miss. We would just hope that we fixed what our deficiencies were and move forward, and he'd still get that statue. I just really think that when he lays everything down, his family's in Oxford. Sure, he could move them. I mean, his wife went to Florida. I get that. Mm-hmm. But all of his family's in Oxford. His brother and his extended family is there. Once again, he could move them to Florida. I get that. I just don't see any value add for moving to Florida. I just don't see.
Yeah,
And
it's
conversely, just real quick, if he does decide to go, we've got an awesome NIL, and we're a top 10 program. We'll find a good replacement.
and agents all know that they are prepared to pay Lane $13 million right now. You think a job search would be easy with that? Yeah, Ole Miss could have whoever they wanted to.
Exactly.
So I'm not overly worried about anything. And listen, trying to pick the who's and what fors going on is always something weird, but it makes no sense for him to go unless you're just stuck living in 2008, which Florida fans are stuck living in 2008, the Tim Tebow times.
Yeah.
And maybe the fact that they haven't moved forward and been able to do that is because they are stuck in that time and they're not adapting to this new changing culture around college football. Because the reality is right now, Vanderbilt's a top 10 team. Indiana's a top 10 team. Georgia Tech's a top 10 team. You know what those schools have in common, Tom?
Rich people.
Rich people and smart people.
Yeah.
Smart people. They understand the NIL situation amongst college football, and the smart schools are taking advantage of it. The ones that used to be blue bloods that don't really understand what's going on in this modern era, they're struggling. So we'll see exactly how that goes over the next couple of weeks. So when we come back, we will talk about Chris Beard taking over this season at Ole Miss and what could happen. What will be the mood coming out of the exhibition on Sunday. We'll talk about all of that coming up next. Listen, it's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more money every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it all down. For Ole Miss, it was Deshaun Stribling who delivered in a big way. It was a 3rd and long against soft coverage against Georgia, and Ole Miss threw a little stop route. One move, and he was gone. 75-yard touchdown. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Deshaun Stribling, he's on a streak. And just like Deshaun Stribling delivered for the Ole Miss Rebels, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order, stack it all season long, and you could have up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo runs through November 18th. And the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many different ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football so much more exciting when you have a little something riding on that action. So whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting on? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Should be pretty interesting to see exactly how that goes. So, Tom, this Sunday, Chris Beard debuts against the St. Mary's Gales. That's the team that beat Vanderbilt in the NCAA tournament, by the way. It's a good basketball team. Yeah. They won like 29 games last season. And then on November 3rd, you have Southeast Louisiana, and the next game you have Louisiana Monroe. So there's a nice little gradual incline. Mm-hmm. But very shortly in November, you will have to play Memphis. Then you have St. John's and all of these teams that start coming fast and furious. I think this Ole Miss basketball team has a chance to really surprise this season.
Well, I do too. I mean, we've all seen where the scrimmage supposedly
The super secret scrimmage.
Yeah, the super secret scrimmage that everybody knows the score.
Yes.
We'll have to wait and see. But I'm for one excited about the basketball season.
Yeah, and one thing that was interesting from the super secret scrimmage, Ole Miss going up against the number 1 preseason Houston Cougars, according to KenPom, by the way. But Ilas Camerding, who was the player that came over from France, he's going to be the star. He was like an under-19 Eurobasket MVP over there. Well, he came over. He went for 14, 7, and 7. That's 14 points, 7 assists, which you want all point guards to do. But he had 7 rebounds as well. And I'm not saying that's not impressive, because that's extremely impressive. But what makes it even more impressive is the thing that Houston's known for is rebounding the basketball. So if you have a guard with 7 rebounds, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It, there was a lot of red tape to get him on campus, but he's there and going to show up and show out. I think so.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how that goes with tomorrow's scrimmage or exhibition game and all of that, and just figure out what they do. Anyway, Tom, what do you got going on this weekend? What do you have scheduled, man?
Just gonna relax, watch some football, watch our Ole Miss Rebels beat Oklahoma, and then just relax the rest of the weekend.
That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, Tom, thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll talk to you next week, bub.
Yes, sir. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy. Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we are the front door of Ole Miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show. It's absolutely free. And another big moment in Locked On, college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, and two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley, of course, Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Howdy, everybody, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you a little bit later on today.